Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is season 2 of In the Blender. Quick recap. Last year, I was watching In the Fish Tank. A few years ago, I was watching In the Fish Tank. And I saw that Seth Levitt and OJ McDuffie were talking to players about their experiences and recapping living stories and things like that. I wanted to do it for the fans. Season 1, I had the very first guest was Miss Pam. I had CB83. I had TD Finstock. I had Lewis. I had El Capitan, Larry K, a bunch of guests, and we talked about how they became fans. Some people became fans because they're from Miami. Some people became fans because of their parents. Some people became fans because, believe it or not, rock, paper, and scissors. So this year is going to be no different. When I come back, we got our first guest. They say ladies first. So, Nene, when we come back.
I know you heard me on the radio, flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K. I know you heard me on the radio, flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K.
And first in the building, Dolphinier. What's up, Jason? Michael K. Hey, my man Larry K, what's going on? He'll be back Monday. So, yo. Anyway, I was on Twitter Spaces, and I heard this young lady holding her own in the spaces, talking football and cooking folk, just like my man, mi hermano Luis Amador. She is, like Larry K, studying to be a lawyer. I met her because there were some injustices going on as far as the high schools were concerned. What's going on, Lewis? And she wanted to bring light to it because, it wasn't fair that they weren't able to film. People weren't able to watch their fellow family play football in high school because these guys were trying to get a monopoly. I hope I'm not getting it wrong. But anyway, she is a veteran of our service, of our military, and I am proud to introduce this next guest, the sister soldier, as Crypto calls her, Miss Nene. Welcome, Nene. How you doing? It is an honor and a privilege to have you up in here.
Oh, it's good. I'm so happy you remembered that calls for that high school, Miami Central Senior High School. I always appreciate you
Yeah,
understanding
for
the,
sure.
the importance of highlighting things for the community.
Oh no, listen. When I was in the guest, one of my loves, one of the things that made me love football, right? My best friend, of course, he went to Northwestern, so I went to a lot of Northwestern games only because he was in a wheelchair and I was allowed. I had sideline access. Okay, so I went to a lot of those games. I smelled the grass, and those experiences were in Trash Pow, which is the mecca. Let's not get it twisted. You know what it is, right? Nene, Trash Pow
Oh,
Stadium.
absolutely.
Some of my fondest memories, especially listening to Wilcox say no to drugs and yes to education, but that's neither here nor there. That's what made my love for football was going to Trash Pow Stadium and watching the season opener, Northwestern versus Carroll City. You know what I mean? There was nothing like it. Nothing like it. Hell, Central versus Northwestern, HML versus Northwestern, whatever it was, that stadium was jumping. So, You know.
Yeah, yeah. As many may know, I went to Miami Central Senior High School. I know that stadium all too well because not just the football team, but the band, the halftime shows used to
Oh
be
yeah.
a big thing. And many know, some don't, but I played trumpet. Actually, I'll be home in May to play trumpet because we are sponsoring a scholarship that I'm endorsing. So kids from the inner city can go to schools such as FAMU University and any school that they want for musical education. So I'm a donor for the Miami Central alumni band, and I'll be home in May to present some scholarships to some kids that really deserve to further their education. So Trash Powell has a hold on me. The band program itself saved me a lot. I know music isn't viewed the same way in communities, but you had football players getting out of Miami in the rough streets of Liberty City, Carroll City, Overtown by using football, and a lot of
Yep.
other people used the band to go to FAMU and Bethune Cookman. I know you want to get further into that in questions later.
Yeah, man. Oh, yeah, man. One of my favorite memories, and whenever I listen to Reasons, bum 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 bum, that was one of the songs that they used to play a lot during like during the intermission in between plays and stuff like that. You hear that. Reason was one of them. Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yes,
Oh
yes,
man.
I'm aware.
Man, Wilcox with he was tackled by a host of bulls or a host of chiefs or a host of whoever, the team that was you remember him calling games?
Well,
Wilcox?
he's still there, and they still say yes to education and no to drugs. His voice is very powerful. I believe they're going to be doing like a reality TV show on Trash Powell. Some of you that are listening that are not from the area, you can think of any great football player that came from Miami, whether it was Santana Moss,
Yep.
Sean Taylor, um,
By the way, I
a lot.
seen Santana Moss play in the semifinals in the Orange Bowl. High
Yeah, a lot of those
West Northwestern versus Carroll City.
guys, Frank Gore, a lot of those guys had to go through Trash Powell, that's really in the heart of Miami, and a lot of those guys that you cheered for in Sunday, especially in the early 90s, early 2000s, they played at that stadium. So that's the significance.
Man, before we get to $1 million question, we got a little beverage here. Hey man, it's almost Friday. Cheers to you. So, all right, let's ask the $1 million question. What made you a Dolphin fan? I know you're from Miami, but what's up, Miss Fins? Good to see you. What's up, G? Cat for life. So,
What
what
made
made you a
me a,
Dolphin fan?
what made me a Miami Dolphin fan is Edith Robinson, my grandmother, God rest her soul. Um, my grandmother made it very clear. On Saturdays, we were watching the University of Miami play,
Uh huh.
and on Sunday, we was watching the Miami Dolphins. And just her passion for the team. As I grew older, I understood why she always would say, "The Dolphins ain't gonna kill me this year. I'm done with them." And then we'll still be watching the Dolphins. It's kind of like we reliving, her moments. I remember when we scored 70 points against Denver. I was really emotional because I just wish that my grandmother was alive to see history being made. She is my influence for so many things, but
Yeah,
she
for
is
sure.
definitely the reason why I'm a Miami Dolphin fan.
No doubt. Is there any given any player or anything that triggers uh maybe a game you watched, a moment that you guys watched will be forever be etched in your memories?
Oh, real clear. The fake spike against, I want to say that was the Jets, right? Watching that
Mhm.
game with her, there was an up and down game. Everybody in the house, to include my aunts and my dad, we were all watching it, and we wasn't sure what was going to happen. But when he did that fake spike and he threw the ball, I want to say it was Irvin Fryer that caught it. That is a moment that I remember watching the games with her, and all of us celebrating and cheering because we actually won that game.
That's what's up. Hell yeah. Yeah, man. My folks weren't really into football like that, so I can't. I don't have a cool. The only stories I used to watch was wrestling with my grandfather. That was about the closest I had to it. So and so now, obviously, well, we are experiencing some technical difficulties right now. We'll be right back. Hey, Raphael Courtwright, what's going on? Nene, a real one. Yes, yes, she is. We are spit, man. But what's up, Raphael? While we do that, let me get a little sip of whiskey. A little bird dog. Woo. Some good shit.
I'm back here.
Nene,
Yeah, I
what's
don't
up,
know what
back?
happened. It clicked out. It's been happening all day. But what was your question?
No, so you remember what was your any memories of high school football games that you that stand out to you?
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad you brought up the trash that's not Miami Northwestern. They cheated us every year that we played. I remember my junior year in high school, there were so many people that wanted to attend that game. They moved it to the Orange Bowl. And
Okay.
you got to remember, this is when Juvenile and all those guys that song back that thing up. And I
Yeah, yeah.
remember the crowd was just electric. Northwestern, us both going at it, a typical Miami game, and we end up winning from a person that some of you know, Willis McGahee. Willis McGahee, who went on to play for the University of Miami. He played for the Buffalo Bills and a couple other teams, but he had the game-winning touchdown, and that was a big thing for Miami Central. At that time, we wasn't a really good football team, but as the years went on, they won 8 state championships in 10 years. I mean, I graduated and moved on. But those that's from South Florida are very aware of Miami Central High School football's program. But to my knowledge, it was really halftime, and people come in there. You know, if you're from South Florida, you understand. People just cheering you on like you're a celebrity because of the halftime show. But yeah, that game against Miami Northwestern, because that's our rival. Central and Northwestern is not maybe 10 miles from each other. So yeah, that's the answer to that question.
Hmm. That's what's up. And then of course you went to FAMU, or you're a
Well,
big
let me
supporter of
clarify
FAMU.
it. Dr. Shelby Chipman, who's the band director right now for FAMU University, he was the band director for Miami Central, and they offered me a scholarship, but I turned it down and I
Okay.
joined the military. But my connection to FAMU University, my cousin is a professor at
Hmm.
FAMU University, Dr. Reeves, on the agricultural side of FAMU. Everybody else went to FAMU, Florida State. Me and my brother are the only ones that joined the militaries. But I did have a scholarship for trumpet to be a part of the Marching 100.
So when you went to the military, how were you able to keep tabs on the Dolphins?
Well, ironically, you mentioned a great name, Miss Pam. Miss
Hmm.
Pam, throughout my career, even though I didn't know who Miss Pam was physically, she was the one on Facebook actually streaming the games live. So throughout my military career, sometimes I will be in different places, such as Missouri, Iraq. I spent some time in DC and other places. They don't play the Miami Dolphin game. So I would log on Facebook and just go on Miss Pam's page. And then
Hmm.
after a while, they start creating Miami Dolphin groups on Facebook to where you had certain people that were streaming on YouTube. So that's how I kept up with the game while I was in the military.
Yeah. I remember crypto. Crypto was he was in the military too, and he said he used to listen to it on the transistor radio.
Yeah, it's just that the Miami Dolphins, for the Army side, like they have this network called AFN, but
Hmm.
honestly, they will only play like the Cowboy games or the Patriots. They would not play the Miami Dolphins games. And if they did, you had to get up like 1 o'clock in the morning to try to catch up with the time difference when I was in Korea. But the majority of my time, like I said, Miss Pam, she's now I haven't heard from Miss Pam in a while, but she was a blessing to me as a person from Miami, where not all the time the areas I was stationed in you could watch the Dolphins at all, because they were playing their respective teams, especially like in Missouri, they would with St. Louis Rams. Their games would be on TV. I'm in Carolina right now. They play the Panthers game. So and back then you didn't have like this Sunday ticket the way they have now where you could still keep up. So Miss Pam is the OG. She's a real one. She didn't know me from a can of paint, but a lot of Dolphin fans from that was from Miami as well. We would just look on Facebook and watch Miss Pam streaming the games for all of us.
Man, did you ever listen to her go off? How she would scream?
Yeah, I mean it was interesting. Kids, animals, all types of things. But it remind me when you used to get bootlegs back in the day. You'd take somebody walking through the screen just to see the show. So
Oh yeah,
I
man.
would I was just happy to see our boys.
Yeah, speaking of bootlegs, man, I remember when I was living in Miami Shores on payday, man. We used to get. I used to go. Um, was that Is that two, one for five, three for 10, whatever. There was this dude. He used to sell bootleg movies. One for five, three for 10, and I used to take advantage. I was like, fuck it, let me get three.
Yep, Miss. I didn't know Miss Pam from a can of paint, but when I finally saw her like in the spaces, I like, oh, you were the lady that was helping us watch the games. And you see how amazing it is. I know how people talk about Dolphins Twitter and everything, but like her efforts, like that built the morale, especially when we won. Like, um, if we lost, I was kind of salty. Like a lot of us when they lose, but when they won, especially when I was overseas, that was a morale booster to have somebody taking their time to present the games because we couldn't see it, as soldiers and those who are deployed.
Yeah. Is there any game in particular that you remember watching on that stream?
Um, it was always during that time. I always wanted us to beat Tom Brady. So whenever we played New England, like those were the games that I really, enjoyed because I always felt like they cheat, and they never got held accountable. And just whenever you got somebody that's like allegedly the GOAT, I still think Dan Marino is the GOAT, but
Of
you
course.
could call that bias for me. If he had the weapons, or he had the rules of the game, I think Dan Marino would have went down as the best, but us, because it seemed like for some reason the Dolphins, they would show up to that game against Tom Brady. Like we'll lose a lot of other games, but we'll beat New England. Or, just the old school rivalry of the Jets and people that's in our conference like Buffalo. Those are the games I look forward to, especially if I had some people in our unit who they cheer for the Bills or they cheer for the Patriots, and to be able to watch the games and talk a little trash, or sometimes I have to be a little quiet but still talk a little trash because no matter what, like most people say, who's the only undefeated team ever, and to include the Super Bowl. So that's what I would hold my hat on. We're talking trash to other soldiers or different people that didn't like the Dolphins.
So I got a question for Nene. Who inspiration to in its comedian now? It better not be a so-called legend.
Oh man, it's Lewis, man. Lewis know that. Lewis is my brother. Yeah, some people don't know, but a lot of people do. I had a bad experience with a group of people in this
Hmm.
community, and he was the one leading the charge and carrying the banter of, embracing someone new, someone who has a boisterous opinion. Those who know me know I'm not afraid to state my opinions, and Lewis was all
Yeah.
about it. I was a stranger, and he, so, and then he helped me develop the skills and spaces in debating with those guys. It's an art. If anybody ever goes on spaces, it's a little bit different in this platform. So
Yeah.
Absolutely, that's my brother Lewis.
Yeah. So the thing about that's one thing about me is I used to go on space. I go on spaces when I can, but at the end of the day, I have two platforms. If I need to speak my opinion, I have them to. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
So that's
yeah,
what I usually
yeah.
do.
Yeah, but like for me, Dolphins Twitter get a bad rap. I know we had some things that hit national news throughout the years, but it's people like Lewis, definitely yourself, Shay, I met you as well. Not obviously Cap and what they're doing at the tailgate, and then just a female in the community, Miss Fins. Like that's another person that embraced my personality and my love for the sport, and just having another woman that's talking about and loving on this team and being able to speak, not just from the
Yeah.
gender perspective, but loving the Miami Dolphins.
And by the way, and knock on wood, I am hoping to get Miss Finsanity 5 next week,
Yeah,
Thursday.
that's another one in the community, but there may be some debate, like EM kind of.
Well, here's the thing about Miss Finsanity 5. She's like when TD first came on the scene, she was the you would say the first lady on YouTube was Miss Finsanity 5. I know uh Miss Fins is the first lady to get her own channel, but she was the first lady on YouTube. Before her, there was, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, much respect for Miss Insanity. I know I met her through Miss Fins, and she has a lot of respect in this community. Though me and her have a lot of opposing views on tour, but
Yeah, of course.
overall, she's a very knowledgeable, not just female, but a person in the community. So absolutely, it's just that she has taken a couple of L's in debating with me, but we can all chalk that up to Lewis being my mentee and some guy named EM. I think he's from
Yeah, that's a
Texas.
legend right there. He was supposed to be on. He was supposed to be on today, but he couldn't make it. So I appreciate you for stepping in.
Oh, absolutely. We had this scheduled down, and I'm sure as we go more into my bio, you'll explain that, my schedule is crazy.
Yeah, yeah, man. And I appreciate any time you give me. All right, now we're talking about foes. Who was your mate? Who was the team that you hate the most? That you uh, it feels like a gut wound when you lose to them.
It's interesting because they're not a team that plays the Miami Dolphins a lot. The Dallas
You guess the
Cowboys.
Cowboys?
Yeah, I absolutely hate Dallas with everything in me. That's why this season though was painful how it ended. I at least give those boys a heavy salute that they didn't let the Dallas Cowboys and their annoying fans that live in Miami, right?
Yeah,
There's a lot of Dallas Cowboys fans that live in Miami that don't
I
cheer for
know.
the Dolphins. So I know
My
some
best
people
friend Joe is a Cowboys fan.
I know some other people probably would say another name, but no, it's I cannot stand losing to them. I hate that we don't have enough people that support the Miami Dolphins and they support that team that hasn't won nothing in a long time. So it's the Dallas Cowboys for me.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Of course, me. I hate losing to the Jets, not because it's just like, and really, I don't know. I feel like it's like losing to the slow kid in checkers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, and to be fair, we just have to say a team that like we face is the Jets. I would say that because I lived in New Jersey for a little while, and a lot of those teams that's up their way. There's a lot of fans. To be fair, in New Jersey, New York, Miami Dolphins, but there's some arrogance when it comes to those teams. So yeah, it is always nice to beat them.
So one of the things that stood out to me when I first heard, because I one of the things about me is I like to listen, so I can know where they're coming from. And eventually, one thing I learned in life is the more you listen, the more they're gonna reveal themselves to you. You know what I'm saying? So, and one thing that as I observed you, you said that you used to cook in the White House. So you obviously know how to cook. Of course, not as good as Crypto. His collard greens, but that's neither here and there. But no, no, game day. Do you are you one of those people that like to cook for game day?
To be honest with you, like any chef worth their salt would tell you, like when you do something for a living, the last thing you want to do is when you come home to do it.
Uh-huh.
I am a public sub fanatic, and I love chicken wings, but I don't like to cook on days that I'm off. So I'm ordering somewhere now. If in the event like a holiday or something, yeah, it's I'm putting on that Lewis cooking folk apron and I'm going to town. But for a game day perspective, I'm always getting a public sub. Weirdly enough, in North Carolina, where I'm at, they have a Publix here. So
Okay.
that's kind of like my thing. And then there's a couple of Italian restaurants that have some good pizza and wings. So I personally don't like to cook, even though that's what I did for you kind of hit on it for a while for our former president.
All right. God willing, we in the Super Bowl, right? What's your game day? What's your game day go to? Will be a game day go to. What would you have something prepared, or really want it be just another Sunday for you?
Well, as you may know, I am a devoted Christian. So the first thing I'm doing, I'm going to church and praying for them boys. Hopefully, we can win. That's how I start my day. But no, again, I'm a person that's I'm extroverted and introverted at the same time. Kind of
Mm-hmm.
private with people I hang around in circles, but
No
it'd be
doubt.
the same thing. I'm not really into like a lot of people around me per se, and I'll just have the simple things like if it's a regular game. I'm gonna be honest. If the Dolphins in the Super Bowl, the last thing I'm thinking about is food.
Okay.
We've waited a long time for it, so I'll probably be fasting. As long as we get the win, I eat once I get home to Miami.
I tell you what, I will have some fried chicken, mac and cheese, and some prosecco with pineapple juice. That's my go-to.
Yeah, I see New Finland down there. I gotta lean towards that individual.
What's
Dolphins
up,
making
Casa
the Super
Nostra?
Bowl.
Hey, my main man, Crypto is in the building. What's up, Crypto?
Crypto, but my fellow veteran, always a pleasure. Another one in the community that has opened me with open arms. And if you know anything about crypto, it's crypto turn up. That's kind of like my favorite time of day is turn up crypto time.
uh, so now we got the food prep out of the way. Do you have any superstitions for game day or?
I mean, most games are on Sundays, so like I said earlier, I am a person that attends church. I go to church, and then hopefully I get to make it before the first half. And but there's really no superstition. I would tell you this: given that I can now watch the game since I'm retired, I still tune in to 560 a.m. and check out the guys like Brandon Tobin and Alejandro Solana. I know Omar Kelly's on there. Not really a fan of his, but I have to listen to them a lot of times before the game comes on this way. And it all depends if it's an early game, if it's a late game. It's in the fall, so a lot of times I have to make sure throughout the week I'm doing all my homework and stuff, so I'm not trying to not be focused on the games. I will tell you this: whenever what's that guy's name that played for the Cowboys, the quarterback, the former quarterback, what's his name? When he's the
Dak
comment,
Prescott?
no, 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 he's the one that does the play by play. And he loves Josh Allen. What's that guy's name?
Oh, Tony Romo.
When Tony Romo is covering the game is on mute. I'm not trying to hear nothing he's talking about.
Well,
But
I
I
have it
love
on mute regardless who it is. So
I love Kevin Harlan when he does the play by play for us on CBS. He has I remember watching him giving us the play-by-play when we beat Denver, and the way he articulates certain touchdowns and Hill. He's another
Actually,
one.
Greg Gumbo is one of my favorite ones, if I'm being honest with you.
Do they do it side by side, him and Kevin Harlan, or they?
No, Greg Gumbo, he does the play by play.
Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah, I like him too. But it's just Kevin Harlan. He has that Tyreek Hill touchdown. Or Joe Rose on 560. They do the play by play
Yeah.
as well. I like them as well to listen.
Ultimately, my favorite one was God rest his soul, Jim Mandich. All right, so uh, we got two little segments that we want to do, and then we could call it a day. Hey, what's up, CB? What's going on? He was in the blender as well. Shout out to Howard University, another fine HBCU in the building. Um, so last year, what you think of what grade would you give last year?
Um, they gave us 11 wins and they beat the Cowboys. But as many people know, we didn't make it past the first round. So, see.
See,
Um, and the reason why, I mean, my standards, I know not everybody probably likes that grade, but you know, we did have a good team on paper, and just collapsing the way we did. I was hoping that it didn't happen, but it did. And I mentioned it today. That Tennessee game, man, that hurt because I don't know if you knew it or not, but I'm type 2 diabetic, and on that game I was in the hospital because my sugars were low. And that's why that Tennessee game sticks, because while they were sticking me with IVs and different things, we were losing to the Tennessee Titans at home. So that still stings for me. I know other people thinking maybe the Buffalo loss in Week 18 or the Kansas City loss, but yeah, that losing to Tennessee, but beating the Cowboys, getting our revenge on the Chargers. That first win of the season was really good. The refs robbing us against the Eagles. The Washington game, to see Miami fans prove the national media wrong that we don't travel. One time for anybody that went up there, that was great to see, just the takeover. And it was just heartbreaking because I was a skeptic about this team and what we would do. And once we got to 11 games, I had hope. I was like, okay, they're gonna prove me wrong, and we end up, letting go of the rope and not getting at least a playoff win. I think I would have been more happy if we at least would have got one playoff win. I could have digested it a little bit more, but I say a C. And on top of that, knowing what we kind of knowing right now, some of those players, that was their last game as a Miami Dolphin. So this
all right,
season, so
yeah. Let
it's
me. All
yeah.
right, who was your all right offense and defense? I have two awards. We have the MVP award and the participation trophy, which is self-explanatory. Who is your offensive MVP and your offensive participation trophy, and same with defense?
Woo, that's hard because each half of the season to me it was somebody different. Like Tua to me in the beginning half of the season, him and Tyreek were quote MVPs. Um,
Okay.
but then towards the end of the season, I gotta say it was Butch Berry for keeping that offensive line somewhat intact. I don't even give it to a player. I give it to coach because like we just kept dropping like flies. So participation, what, like when you say participation, is that kind of like a shot, or is that like literally?
Like he just gets a trophy just for showing up. He didn't do nothing. He just shows up. He
Oh,
just
easy.
participated.
Teron Armstead gets the participation trophy. Like that dude was literally MIA, or Savon Augment. He one of those two guys. For the
It kind of breaks my
defense,
heart because it only breaks my heart because of this right here.
dang
But hey, man, that is what it is. How about defense?
defense. Who's the MVP? Whew. Um, it again is a tale of two seasons, right? Because
Uh-huh.
I like that Jalen Ramsey came back from that injury. I didn't expect him to recover so fast. I think with everything that happened in the season, like we literally forgot that this man really excelled in his rehab. And the defense looked so much different when he came back versus before. So I give it to Ramsey. That may be a difficult choice for a lot of people, but I give it to Ramsey. Participation. You should already know who this is. Eli freaking Apple. Like, my God, yo. What y'all said is Basur trash. he
Basura.
was just he was just out there just catching strays left and right.
Damn. So, all right. Right now, I'm gonna put you. I'm gonna give you some on the spot questions. All right. If Miami Dolphins were to, just like how they went from Oakland Raiders to L.A. Raiders to Oakland Raiders to Las Vegas Raiders, if Miami Dolphins was to move to another state, would you still be a Dolphin fan?
No. It's Dade County or nothing else. I'm 305 till I die. No. I'm not the cornerstone of the Miami Dolphins is the Miami part in the name. So no.
So you're not. So if they went to Texas and became the Austin Dolphins,
Nah. Nah. If you gave me like if I had to pick one, like really had to, I would love where I'm at, Carolina. But that no, the Miami Dolphins is the Miami Dade County Dolphins. It's nowhere else. It doesn't belong anywhere else, and I wouldn't follow. I would just be a fan of the sport. But I'm Miami. I cheer everything. Miami Heat, Miami Dolphins, Miami Hurricanes, Florida Panthers, Miami Marlins. 305. So no.
okay. Now this might be. I think I know where you're gonna go, but I'm gonna ask anyway because everybody has their own. You could add this duo to next year's squad: Sam Madison, Patrick Surtain, the Marks brothers, Jim Kick or Morkier Morris, or and the last one, Dan Marino and Zach Thomas. You can
Dan
only add
Marino,
which one are
Zach
you adding?
Thomas.
Huh?
That's easy. Dan Marino, Zach Thomas. Like, we need. Well, I'm not gonna say that because I don't want to get canceled. But having the goat throw to Tyreek and Waddle and having an actual dog as a linebacker like Zach, oh yeah, that's too easy.
Okay. I mean, you want to have four wide receivers? Can you imagine that?
Like, yeah, y'all know most people know how I feel about our current QB1. I would never choose the current QB1 over Dan Marino, especially since Dan Marino never had this type of high powered offense. Like, and I'm talking about Dan Marino in his prime, not
Well,
now.
the reason I put I know Jason, you could put Jason Taylor and Zach Thomas, but the reason I put Zach Thomas and Dan Marino is because they're prospective QBs of their position. Zach was the QB of the defense. Dan Marino is obviously the QB of the defense offense. You know what I mean?
Oh, and I wanted for my defensive end, I wanted to put an honorable mention. It got to
Yeah.
be the one guy that I hope that we just don't let walk. AVG, man. I like his story. I like we drafted him. I like when Phillips went down, he went in there and he gave us some passion and at that position. And you just kind of how can you not cheer for a guy like AVG? So him and Ramsey, in my opinion.
All right. Before we get to the next segment, what you think of the releases this so far to get under the cap? What you think of X being gone and potentially Christian Wilkins?
Well, X being gone is it probably would have hurt me if this was a couple of seasons ago. But it's kind of like you saw someone in the midst of going from their prime to like just being a regular player. I knew it was going to happen eventually, but I just think that you always like to see a guy begin and end his career with one team. I wish he could have evolved maybe into another position, like maybe safety, that kept him here on the Miami Dolphins. But let's be honest, it was hard watching him. We talk about the Tennessee game, and that's a game that he got burnt a lot, And I love X, but I think it was time to move forward. Christian Wilkins, it is again is hard because you drafted him so high, you developed him, you watched him grow, and he may leave. Now we understand that it's a business, right? It is a
Correct.
business, but I just wish overall, and obviously the Wilkins situation is not done completely. He can always come back. I know X confirmed that he's not coming back to the Miami Dolphins. Um, I wish we would have got something back for those players, like some type of value to where we're not waiting to 2025 for a third round contestatory pick, not for someone that you drafted to be a part of, the changes going forward. I still remember that infamous him jumping up with the commissioner when he got selected. Um, I just wish we would have getting some type of replacement for these individuals, both Xavier and Howard. The writing was on the wall. I think
Hmm.
after his 10 interception season, the next 3 years were like three interceptions per se. We saw his injuries. We saw, unfortunately, his personal life kind of get in the news. I just wish we could have handled it a little bit different, even though it's business. And the other part is if they both go, who's replacing them? Like, I guess that's how I feel. I know never to get attached to players when you saw Zach Thomas in another uniform, Jason Taylor in another
Especially in the
uniform.
Cowboys uniform to top it off.
Yeah, it was absolutely disgusting. It was absolutely disgusting seeing him in another uniform. But as you grow older, you learn it's a business. Players,
Hmm.
they got to
Let me
get.
ask you: was it the other uniform, or was that specific uniform?
It was just another uniform because Zach, to me, after the Dan Marino years, he was kind of like that face, like that guy. We love his story. Somebody that's undersized, somebody that just went in there and just gave 1,000%. I always say this with the Miami Dolphin team: a lot of these players don't reflect the city and the attitude of the city. Zach Thomas did. He was a thumper. He was an absolute warrior. So I hated seeing him go. Jason Taylor was another one. I know both end up getting their names in the ring of honor in those yellow jackets. But you would love to see people like more like Marino start and finish their career as Dolphins. But the way the business is, it doesn't shock me. But to the point of them leaving, I don't know the unknown. I don't know the X. I don't know who's replacing X. Is it Cam Smith? Are we gonna get a big splash of a free agent? Wilkins, if he walks, like what's replacing that, and what is it gonna look like on the field? Like I guess that's the frustration for a lot of the fans because for a lot of us, this was the best roster in 20 years, and now you only got really a 1 year sample of that roster, and now it's not going to be a lot of guys that was from the team prior. But best of wishes to both of those individuals.
Yeah.
I will
And,
say
and by
that.
the way, there's talks that X might come back. But speaking of which, the best thing that all right. Shout out to Dolph Freaky. I don't know if you know who Dolph Freaky is, but she's another great member in this community. She's part of the Southwest Dolphin, Florida, which she has a watch party in Fort Myers, which I'm close by that. It's like 45 minutes from my house. So I went there and I was watching the Buffalo Bills game, sadly. But however, the silver lining was I met this man right here.
Oh man, that's the guy. Zach's the guy.
Yeah. See that hat right? El Capitan gave everybody a Finn's tailgate hat. So that hat above me, it, see the orange little bill? I'm pointing at it.
Yeah, I see it. I see it. I had to get off mute.
As a matter
Yeah,
of
I
fact,
see
I'm
it.
wearing the hat. As a matter of fact, he signed it. Zach Thomas Hall of Fame. So that,
Yes.
I'm not. I'm keeping that hat is just retired.
I mean, like me and you kind of in the same age brackets. Like those teams weren't like really going places, but the way he played the game, and I wish if we had some of that, in the locker room on both sides of the ball,
Oh,
I
I have
think
a
our
story
results
about
would
him
be
too.
different.
When I used to be a suite runner, right? I used to work in the suites in the sky boxes, and I was there at 5 o'clock in the morning. We had to be there at 5 o'clock to prep the sky boxes, the luxury suites, whatever. Which I was fine by me. So every time I take shrimp or chicken tenders, whatever, I'd take one off everybody's plate. I'd eat good there. Put it that way.
Yeah,
I could say that now. Statute of limitations,
yeah,
2004. Who
yeah. They
cares?
can't get you for that now, but
Yeah, but
yeah.
anyway, I didn't spit in their food or nothing like that, so I ain't doing nothing that despicable. But anyway, I used to be there at 5 in the morning, loading up the trays into the sky boxes, whatever. And at 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock, 7, 8 o'clock, I see some dude running the fucking field, just running the whole field for like 30, 40 minutes. It was Zach Thomas. He was there at a 1 o'clock game. He was there at 7 o'clock in the morning running the stadium.
And it's no disrespect to these current guys because they probably does the workout and stuff like that, but I just think this is the level of intensity he played while on the field. Like I still remember his first game. We played the Chargers, and he knocked the dude out. Like it was wild because he's such a little dude, and he literally, I want to say it was LaDainian Tomlinson, but he literally, he, and I know the game has changed. Like you probably get ejected, but just that, there's just that swagger. I love Zach. I hated that we couldn't, and I'm glad that we were able to still honor him, and he got that Hall of Fame jacket because it was well deserved. Um, yeah,
I remember that Titans where he made a pick six.
yeah,
It was
absolutely, absolutely. But to be fair, to answer your question about the departures, I still love the Miami Dolphins, and I just hope now that some of these names that are leaving, that we bring some guys in that's just gonna play like they paycheck depend on it. I just think that's the missing part of this organization is that scrappy. This is the last meal type of thing. So I'm optimistic that and then we got a new defensive coordinator. I personally didn't have a problem with Vic Fangio, but I could see the problems with his generation of leadership and the players that
Mhm.
he had and some of the other constraints. Um, but hopefully the defense doesn't get worse because under Boyer, Lord, there was some bad letdowns when we had him before Fangio.
And before we get to the last question of the day, what made look? You're going to school now, and I could tell you if you wanted to, you could just you don't have to do what you're doing. You could relax. You know what I'm saying? You look like a smart woman. You could just ride into the sunset and just do you. But you're going to school, and I think for a noble reason. You want to become a lawyer. Uh, you said to help people, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing two things while I'm in school. I'm in a dual program, and one is divinity, that's the ministry, and also pastoral counseling and dealing with people with mental health issues. So that's one part of the degree, and then the second part is law school. A lot of people say, "Wow, that's a lot," but I envision my next life after the military, 21 years of serving, and a lot of things that I did. This next chapter for me is about social justice, and I saw a lot of things while I was in the military. Yes, I love the military, but there was a lot of things that happened to people because they didn't have proper legal consultation and they didn't have money to get good lawyers. So I actually had some experiences towards the end of my career where I had to learn how to defend myself in some situations with the military. So the divinity side was because I didn't get to mention it, but the school that I graduated just in May, 4.0 GPA, Dean's List a couple of times. I always strive for the whatever that top is. That's the way I'm wired. But I started looking at the scriptures. I started looking about, my faith, being a Christian, and the person that I want to be, and how to treat people, and to, know people, and love them, and not essentially judge them. And I can't lie, I've gone to a lot of churches where that happens, and people do not want to go to church because of the people in the church. So when I graduated, and we were discussing the game plan on what's next. um, I attended the open house where they have the law school. Has a lot of people don't know this, but law school is just not for lawyers. They have other programs, like you could be a lawyer and then pursuing your degree in counseling. It takes a special person to do that, but it's possible. So when I saw divinity school and law school, I said that makes sense because I'm so passionate about reading the scriptures for myself, and understanding the word for myself, and not just what someone is telling me. And the lawyer part, you mentioned it earlier. I'm all about fighting for the underdog. I've been the underdog in my life so many times, and it's not to like use my demographic or my gender as an excuse, but there are people that are ignorant, that don't, want to deal with people of color, and definitely women. So I just thought this is the perfect opportunity. While we was on Miss Finn show, I learned that I got another academic scholarship of $10,000 for
That's what's
getting the
up.
4.0. So that's why it pushes me to help people, especially our veterans. A lot of veterans leave the military, and a lot of people think we just get the benefits. No, a lot of veterans don't get the medical care they deserve because they don't understand the rules, the regulations, and how to get it on a piece of paper that you have this injury. Like, you have to prove it. So my law is going to be dealing with veterans and their claims, making sure all our veterans get the proper percentages, and also our soldiers, sailors, and Marines when it comes to court cases, because there's a lot of people that are falsely accused, not just in the court system nationally, but even in the military, where they're getting dishonorable discharges for no reason. So that's my passion, and I hope I explained that eloquently. And it's why I'm always busy, because both of these majors are very time consuming with reading, research, typing papers. This is actually my spring break, but talking about the Miami Dolphins is a way that I break away from all of the studying and all of the remembering, all the presentations. So I thank y'all for having this available for me to kind of decompress from
Yeah, for
just
sure.
two things that are very passionate to me, but they're very challenging. I'm writing a paper right now about why people don't allow women to preach, and digging into that is just, it's so much things that comes into different belief systems, and how we interpret scripture, the Bible, and how you was raised. So this stuff like this kind of keeps my brain on ease, just to talk about sports and have a place where I
Yes,
have other Dolphin fans that love the team like I do.
that's what's up. I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much for number one, giving me some of your time today, and allowing my audience to hear, um, your side of the story. And lastly, but if somebody came up to you today that was a close friend and said they wanted to join the military, would you, what would you tell them?
Absolutely. Because I think what they're teaching in the schools, unfortunately, especially at the public school levels, are not preparing our kids to be aware of situations. The military, especially my first 3 years, I was overseas. I was in Korea, and I was a couple of other places, and seeing the other side of the world, and getting that at least 18, 19, 20 years old, to just be a kid for the most part, and learning how to, like some of I have beach house property here in North Carolina. I have my own house. I have all of these investments, but it was because the military allowed me to learn those things. I love Miami Central, but they didn't teach me about APR rates, housing rates, inflation. And being in the military, you could sit there and like literally learn a trade. Like most of y'all know, I'm a chef. I know how to bake. I know how to cook. But I also, like, for law school, none of this stuff is coming out of my pocket. Everything was 100% paid through my VA benefits. My medical benefits is 100% paid for. I didn't realize how rough it was until I talked to my friends in college. And, it's not disrespect to anyone that goes that path, but a lot of people don't know um, the money it takes to pay for your degree, student loans, medical, and then when you get your degree, when you get hired from, a lot of people got degrees and they not getting the job that they went to school for. So you spent a lot of money for something that you're not even using. So the military, and it does have its problems, but I think it gives you a time to get disciplined, be around. Like for me, I was 18 years old, around 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, and they was really teaching me how to be a woman and learn like income
And
and
they
all
look at
this.
that.
Ah, I see. So for the most part is I think there's a negative undertone because of war. People think you sign up and then automatically you get sent overseas. That's not how it works. There's a whole different matrix on how people go. I know people that's been in the military for 21 years and never went to Iraq, never went to Afghanistan, and I just think it's another component to learn a skill, right? Like when I got out, I don't have to. If I wanted to, I could just live off my retirement, and I retired at age 37. So when people hear that I'm retired at 41, they're like, "What? Like, how did you get retired?" I joined when I was 18. So for me, is I would definitely promote it, but I will say this, and to be honest, every job, every path in life has challenges because you're
Actually,
dealing with.
my cousin retired from the Navy. He's 41 too. He's a chief. He retired as a chief in the Navy. He's doing what you call it, computer surveillance, for what you call it. He's making a killing.
Yeah,
But yeah,
and
he
you're
but he
right.
put in 20 years, just like you.
And like retiring at age 37, 38, 40 years old, that's abnormal. And like you see, I'm starting a whole new life with going after my dream of being a lawyer. Another reason why I didn't mention it that I want to be a lawyer is that my mother was murdered in 2015, and I got to deal with the legal process and how it works. And it's just is that person is in jail. He didn't get out, but just the nuances of what court looks like, the victims, the prosecution, all of that stuff. Like I didn't know, and I was the only one like handling her matters. So that's another way
Uh,
I got motivated to become a lawyer, based off of how I saw the system worked. And a lot of people don't know. Like you see it on TV and think, oh, a person commit a crime, they go to jail, they go to court, and it's all done in 2 hours. No, my mother's case was 6 years. There was 6 years of going through a lot, um, for me and my family. So I just want to make sure people get that justice that they deserve. No matter what you look like, no matter what your gender is, nothing. I stand for that. And just going through that, I felt like it was one of the ways that my direction and where my place is, my purpose in life was just based off that experience of learning court. Because people don't notice, victims have to sit there and listen to what happened to their loved one, and you can't even move. You can't react to it. Like the stuff you see on TV where people having outbursts. You can't do none of that. So I'm an advocate of victim advocacy and learning the laws of our land so you're more aware of what's going on around you.
man, I tell you what, man, that's you're pure gold, Nene, as they say. And you know what? This is one of the reasons why I started this particular show, because I want fans to see that we have more similarities than differences. You know what I'm saying? Everybody has a story, and the more you get to know a person, the more you be like, damn, I could relate. I can relate to this. I can relate to that. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully that I'm trying to bring unity. You know what I'm saying, Nene? You know me. Since you
Right,
see me,
right.
I'm a very laid back guy. I don't get out of character too often. I don't get rattled that easy. You know what I'm saying? Crypto knows how to get me rattled. That son of a bitch. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Uh, but last question of the day. Here we go. I used to do the ultimate team, but a lot of people it'll take a while and kind of killed the show a little bit. But I got instead of doing the ultimate team, I want to hear your Miami Dolphins Mount Rushmore.
Ooh. Um,
Yeah, fuck you, crypto. See, he knows. See, this is what I'm talking about. This shit right here.
number one with a bullet.
Utah's trash, motherfucker.
Are we
Anyway,
including coaches or in how many spots do
and
I
it
have?
doesn't matter. It could be owner. It doesn't matter. Whatever
Oh,
you feel
oh.
is the Dolphins Mount Rushmore. Four
how,
people. Four
how many
people.
spots I got?
Four.
Four. So number one with a bullet, because there will be no Miami Dolphins without his vision. Joe Robbie, may he rest in peace. A lot of people don't know the story of Joe Robbie and his vision for having a football team and what he fought for is why we have a fins up to say. So number one is Joe Robbie. Number two is the coach that got us the championships that we do have, Don
Brian
Shula.
Flores. No, it's playing.
Don Shula,
Don Shula.
may he rest in peace. Don goes on that spot. The third one, which three is my favorite number, and he has three in his jersey number. Dan the man. As a kid, you just got captivated when you I always feel like I grew up in an area where you were watching special people, and Dan Marino was a special person to watch his gifts and his talents being displayed on Sundays and whenever they played. So I just hated that he never got the championship to kind of validate that who and what he was as a kid growing up. There wasn't really no Miami Heat, and other teams were doing whatever, but the Miami Dolphins was Dan the man. So one time for 1-3, Dan Marino in the third spot. The fourth spot, ooh, because we were talking about him, he's on my mind. Zach Thomas.
Tua.
Zach Thomas.
Oh, not Tua.
Nah, nah. I mean, he's a good person. That's probably the Mount
No, no.
Rushmore.
What about Aloysius Greer?
No, absolutely not. No.
Yeah, Zach Thomas. Okay.
I was about to say good old Wayne Huizinga, but nah, he created some mischief too. But to me, closing out because we were talking about him, Zach Thomas, he was undersized. He was on a team that wasn't really going anywhere for the most part in those years, and he just to me he's a model of what Miami people are. A lot of us that's from the area, we're out, we're discounted, we're judged. He was judged because he was small, and when he played, maybe not at the level of Dan Marino's greatness, but I would say I admired Zach Thomas' grit and his hustle, and I was so happy when he got that yellow jacket. Man, I literally had tears in my eyes. So
I
Zach
did
Thomas.
too, man. I did too. So there you go. We have it. Joe Robbie, Don Shula, Dan Marino, and Zach Thomas. Hey man, I was blessed to take a picture, if I could find it, with your where the heck is he? No, not this one right here. It's Taylor Swift. Actually, she looks better a little chubby, but that's neither here nor there.
You shot out, man. You wow.
Yeah, I like my women thick like grits, but anyway, Zach Thomas. Oh yeah.
I just say he's an absolute dog. Like me, Lou, and some of the other guys, we always talk about we need dogs in the locker room. That was, and to me, he wasn't a raw person. Like that goes to show you don't have to be loud and just boisterous, right? But when he played with a violence, and it was good to see. So, I see it's a deal. Wait a minute. Oh, I got
Yeah, they're signing DB Elijah Campbell. Woohoo! All right, that was the missing piece. Any final thoughts before we close this up, Nene? And once again, um, I am forever grateful that you were my first guest in season two. Not to mention, this is what Women's History Month. What a way to start it off, man! And I am blessed to have you as a friend, and I have you as the first guest to kick off season two, man. Man, I'm forever in your debt. Much appreciated.
Well, first I want to thank Larry K. Man, he's actually a lawyer. I'm going for what he's actually doing. But Larry K. Much respect for the platform and Shake, man. You know how much, like when I come down in May, like you're on the top five of people to see, man. Because,
Oh, please appreciate
um,
that.
as like I said, with a lot of things that go on and how they say people are on social media and especially Dolphin social media and Twitter, like you exemplify, what this fan base should be doing, and that's embracing everybody. One thing that I love when you're on panels, even though it goes off the rails sometimes, you always allow people to speak, man, and that's a gift. Because sometimes when we don't agree with people, the first thing we want to do is mute and silence people. But even the Pete's of the world, or even me sometimes, I know my takes are not always popular to people, but you have made it a comfortable for anybody to come on there and express themselves. And that is a blessing, especially in a time like this where we're being so censored on what we can and cannot say. So I wanted to first start off with that final thought. I definitely
Yes.
want to throw some shout outs.
If I may say something to do, one of the reasons I'm like that is because I'm a Cuban dude, and as a Cuban, we know that communism, the first thing they do is take away your speech, and I will never stand for
Mhm.
that ever.
See, you
You
learn
know what I'm
something
saying?
new.
One thing you got to remember: if you believe in something, then you should allow it to be challenged, because two things will happen: either you will find a new perspective, or your belief in your original statement will be strengthened. So at the end of the day, if you feel like the way you're thinking is proper, challenge it. Put it to the test. Because if you can't put it to the test, that means you need a new way of thinking. That's just how I feel. But go ahead. Sorry, Nene.
No, you good because it's rare that you really, like, for the people you have on the panel, they can take the oxygen out the room, And I know I'm a preacher and a lawyer in training, so it's good to hear you actually speak, and that you just blessed me with something as to why you handle yourself the way you do. And again, not every panel is as friendly. A lot of
Yeah,
people,
for sure.
if you don't believe the way that this person believes, they don't allow you to, speak. And I know we laugh about it, but to me, something as sports, everybody should have their opinions in this arena when it comes to sports. To get away from politics and a lot of other stuff, we just want to be fans and talk about the Miami Dolphins. So again, thank you for allowing me to grace your presence. You always, I know we debated on a couple of things, but you've
Of
always
course.
been respectful for me, and I appreciate it. I did want to shout out some other people, El Cap, Crip Color, all you guys at the Fins tailgate also. Yeah, we even though we do have our differences of opinion, you guys have opened me up. Y'all actually helped me with my debating skills. Like, you got to
Yeah,
come
for sure.
in, you got to come in and knowing how to present your point when you're on these platforms, or you get eaten alive. So thank you. And again, I have to shout out again the women. I mentioned her, Miss Pam. I haven't heard from Miss Pam in a while. I hope all is well. Again, I met her without even meeting her, and like I told her, I was so thankful for her providing the service to us service member, and she didn't even know it. Like, we were watching her in Iraq and in Korea because we didn't have anything to watch the Miami Dolphins. Fansanity, Miss Fins, all you guys, and definitely my guy Lou. The reason why I bring up Lewis so much, I know a lot of people think he's, loud and controversial, but you wouldn't hear me if it wasn't for Lou. Lou
Yeah,
embraced me in the space from day one. We were arguing at each other, and at the end, he became a advocate when some people really crossed the line with some personal attacks to me and my family. So I will always love Lou because he has opened me up to come up. That's why whenever you have a panel, I'm not afraid to click the link and talk ball. But again, thank you for having me on the show.
No
I
doubt.
appreciate it, and I hope all that listen, you may have learned a lot about me on why I present myself the way that I do. Fans up, and God bless.
God bless, man. And I'm gonna leave you. I'm gonna we'll sign off together. And remember, man, that just because you know what I'm saying. And remember, at the end of the day, this is a hobby. You know what I'm saying. At the end of the day, man, we're all people. I heard a song said just because if everybody's a sinner, then everybody could be a winner. So you know what I'm saying. Let's do better and keep shooting for the stars, baby. Hands up, everybody. And appreciate y'all coming through and showing us love, man. Fins up, and I will see you next week, baby, with hopefully Insanity 5, baby. Out.
I know you heard me on the radio flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K. I know you heard me on the radio flexing. She loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K.